Hey everyone, this is your girl Sharifa, aka Shree, and welcome to the I'm Good podcast, or in better words, the I Feel Good podcast. If you are new here, welcome to the family. This is a podcast where I explore topics on mental health, physical health, nutrition, and everything in between. So if you're trying to get right and stay right mentally, this is definitely the place you want to be. And wait, before I begin, here's some quick info. Why did I name this podcast I'm Good? Simple. Because as people, from a cultural standpoint, whether we are down or happy, our favorite response to friends, families, or strangers is I'm good, even if we're not. It's completely normal not to feel happy all the time, but in the midst of whatever you go through, the saying I'm good can elaborate to so many different meanings. So yes, this is the place to be, whether you are down, happy, excited, and everything in between. I'm here to dish out knowledge, talk about current topics, and of course, lift you up. So feel free to go ahead and subscribe, share this podcast, leave a review, and tell a friend. Now let's go ahead and get started on today's show. Hey guys, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And let me explain to you really quick. First of all, for starters, it's free. Yes, I said it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And I know most of you guys have a phone or computer, so it's so easy. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So make sure you download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the I'm Good podcast. I'm your host Shree. What's good? What's poppin'? I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Whenever you listen to this, I hope you had an awesome month. We are now in a new month. It is October 1st. Like, y'all, we about to be in 2022. Crazy. And I don't know, for myself, I don't know if I would say that I feel like this year went by fast. For me personally, I feel like it went by, it was very steady, but I don't feel like it went too fast. But just looking back now, it's crazy, y'all. We are in October. Today is October 1st. Listen, don't put any pressure on yourself. I know I will say this because even myself, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a new month. I'm supposed to do this, and that. And I know social media has a good way of, putting out like, okay, new month, new goals, which you should still have. I think it's very important to have that, but don't pressure yourself. And maybe I'm just talking to myself because I'm at a point where I'm like, I have to do what's best for me. And I think sometimes, and I talk about this a lot, and I'm just being transparent with you guys, is that when you go on social media, you see so much, you see new month, new goals, do this, do that. And there's so much information to the point you just don't do nothing. So I want to just say, happy October 1st to everyone. Listen, we made it. This will be a great month for you. This will be a great year. Listen, it's on and popping. It's on and upward. So I want to first and foremost say thank you to everyone who has tuned into the I'm Good podcast. Thank you to my new listeners. Shout out to my new listeners. Hey, y'all. Hey. Shout out to all of my new listeners. And for my I'm Good fam, what's good? What's popping? Like, I love y'all. Like, y'all be rocking. Y'all be rocking with the podcast, okay? And then shout out to my new listeners. So make sure you stay for a while. Make sure you check out all the other previous episodes. So stay for a while. Also, too, if you are listening to this on an Apple device or Apple Podcast, make sure you leave a rating and review, okay? It takes it's very, very quick, whatever. But if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a rating and review, or you can just leave a review, or you can leave a rating, whichever you prefer. Make sure you guys go ahead and do that. That helps this podcast to grow even more. We're already a big community, but it just helps the podcast to grow even more and just to help other people. So that's the ultimate goal of me even having this podcast, is to help people. So I just think it's so important just to share information. For years, I've always had a lot of this information in me. And as I go throughout this podcast and do this podcast, I definitely look up information that I want to bring out to the podcast. So not only is this podcast beneficial to you, it's also beneficial to me, because sometimes, I'm going to put it like this, you never we should never say that we know it all, because we don't know it all. I feel like life is always a learning process. Just when you think you know it all, it's like, click, nope. But that's just also life, because there's always going to be changes, and there's always change. So whatever it may be. So, but yes, y'all. So go ahead and leave a rating review. If you are listening to this on another podcast platform, that is A-okay. If there's a way to leave a review on there, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. Or if there's a way to rate it, go ahead and do that. So listen, it all helps the podcast, and it just helps this community grow even more. Also too, for my new listeners, make sure you guys go ahead and check out the midweek roll call. My I'm Good fam already know what that is, so go ahead and check that out. I'm not going to tell you guys, I'm not going to spoil it and tell you guys what it is, but make sure you guys go ahead and check out the midweek roll call. There are plenty of those episodes out there, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. And then also too, thank you to everyone who has shared this podcast on your social media with your friends, your family, whoever. Thank you to everyone who has shared this podcast. It is truly appreciated. And I just want to thank everyone who has done so. So if you haven't done so, feel free to share this podcast on whatever platform that you're listening to. 9 times out of 10, there is probably a link where you can share it. So you can share it on your Instagram, your Twitter. You can share it all over social media, or you can share with your boo, your bae, your wife, your husband, your best friend, your sister, your brother, all of that, okay? All of that. So make sure you guys go ahead and share the podcast if you enjoy it, just so that other people can also, benefit from this information as well. So, like I said, today, just to kind of go back to today's topic, today is October 1st. It is the beginning of a new month. As they say, new month, new goals. But like I said, do not stress yourself out. Like I said, sometimes I feel like I see that so much, new month, new goals. I'm like, oh my gosh, but I feel like I should be here. I'm like, no, sis. Continue to do what you're doing. You're exactly where you need to be. So on today's episode, I want to provide some tips on how to, start eating healthier. And I know it could be quite difficult, especially if you're in a pattern of, constantly, I wouldn't say constantly eating junk food, but just not being mindful. So I just want to talk about some tips that you can do to start eating healthier, or just some overall tips that you can do to become more mindful with what you're eating. So as we approach holiday season, so much is coming up. We are currently basically in holiday season. There's so many different celebrations, whether it's holidays, birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, whatever it may be. October, November, and December is generally a time or season when it's filled with candy, cake, cupcakes, cookies, pastries, you name it, macaroni and cheese, fried chicken, you name it. It's these next 3 months are October, November, December. Yes, these next 3 months are definitely a time where it is filled with just a lot of, I would say unhealthier options. So, but I think it is important, as I did discuss on our last week's podcast, that it is important to try to eat as healthy as you can, whatever that looks like for you. Try to eat as healthy as you can, because, eating certain foods really can really affect your overall mental health. And I did talk about that on a previous podcast episode about seasonal depression. So if you are someone who suffers seasonal depression, or you find yourself not even being depressed, or just find yourself being not motivated, or just during these fall and winter months, I would definitely say try your best to try to eat as healthy as possible. And then, during those holidays, feel free to indulge, but just still be conscious. You don't have to go overboard. Because when I go overboard, but then I go overboard for a week and a month, and then it turns into a year. So just be conscious and mindful of what you're doing. But I would say it is very, very important as we go through this holiday season, just to try to, still try to maintain some type of healthy eating pattern. So the first tip that I want to provide today is in regards to trying to become more mindful and eat healthier, is to meal prep. So meal prep, I will say this, it is time consuming, but it is worth it. So it's so much easier. And like, even me, this is something that I really, really want to get back into. I tell myself every week, I'm like, okay, I'm going to meal prep. And I don't meal prep, but meal prepping is actually something that I was doing about 2 years ago, pre-pandemic. And meal prepping, like I would meal prep on Sundays. That was my day. And honestly, it did take a while. It took about maybe 3 or 4 hours to meal prep. And it really honestly depends on what you're prepping. So if you think about it, if you're doing more plant-based foods or raw foods, such as salads and things like that, it won't take as long to prep versus if you're doing more cooked foods or foods that you got to just do a lot more prep to, then that will take longer. So meal prepping, it does vary depending on your diet and what you're eating. So if you're doing more raw focused food, then it won't take as long. But if you're doing more cooked meals, whatever may be, it may take longer. But meal prepping, I will say, especially during this holiday season and everything coming up, one way to stay on track with healthy eating is to meal prep. So like I said, you can choose a day. It doesn't have to be Sunday. It could be Saturday or it could be Wednesday. It doesn't matter. But generally speaking, when you prep, it should, generally speaking, I'm not going to say it should, but generally speaking, when I prep, it would be for like Monday to Friday. But I noticed that I will fall off on Saturdays. So I would say try, to prep Monday through Saturday if you can. Or like maybe plan out something that you already, or just plan out maybe some different dishes you want to have on Saturday. But for me, that was kind of my downfall. I would just have food from Monday through Friday, and then all of a sudden Saturday will come. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the food? And I would tend to snack out or eat out more. So, but that's my first tip, is to meal prep. So there are a lot of places sell meal prep containers. I can't even tell you guys how many meal prep containers I have. I have a bunch, but you can find them on Amazon. Many grocery stores have meal prep containers. But if not, like I said, you can find them on Amazon. There's like meal prep bowls. So there's meal prep containers with different compartments. Because I used to have the meal prep container where it was just like one big old like container. So depending on the food that I ate, it will all get mushed in. But now they have meal prep containers where it's like different compartments. So that's my first tip in regards to trying to stay on track with eating healthy. The second tip is when you go grocery shopping, listen, and I still do this sometimes, try your best to not go grocery shopping while hungry. Before you go grocery shopping, try your best to eat a meal, eat something, a protein shake, do something before you go. Because 9 times out of 10, even myself, because I am a type 1 diabetic, if I don't eat, then my blood sugar tends to drop. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, no, I don't need to eat, that much before I go grocery shopping. Then all of a sudden I start moving to grocery shopping and I'm like, oh, shucks, my blood is getting low. So then I have to get something to eat. And then 9 times out of 10, when my blood sugar is low, to raise it up, I do grab something, to be honest with you, kind of unhealthy, whether it's a cookie, candy bar, or whatever it is, to get my blood sugar to go up. So it is important, diabetic or not, I would say, it is very, very important, to make sure that you don't go grocery shopping on an empty stomach. Because a lot of times we tend to just pick up anything, or we may find ourselves at the hot bar trying to get food, like hot food or whatever it may be, just to eat at that moment. So try your best, to eat a meal, whatever it may be. If you're doing a protein shake, whatever it is, try your best to make sure that you're going grocery shopping on a full stomach, or you're just going to be fooled into getting anything that you see. Or if you're you're going to be fooled into getting whatever's on the shelves or that looks good at the moment. And that's not really the best way to shop, especially if you're trying to stay on track with trying to eat healthy. The next tip I would say is to fill up on protein. So when you go grocery shopping, try to get as much, try to get as much food that has proteins as possible. But for me, I'm pescatarian, and right now I'm not currently eating any fish. I'm trying to slowly progress into plant-based. That's my ultimate goal. Ultimate goal. It is kind of difficult, I will say. So I've been pescatarian since 2017. But my ultimate goal really is just to kind of just stay away from the fish and go straight plant-based. But I would say it is important to make sure that you have a protein at each meal. And then also too, you can have it for a snack as well. So different ways you can get proteins is through like meat, If you are pescatarian like me, it could be through fish, or if you're vegetarian or vegan, it will be through other sources such as avocado, almonds. It could be through beans. It can also be, some people do, like me, I have like protein powder by Vega, which I love. It's called Vega 5, and it only has like 5 ingredients in it, and that's why I love it. But yeah, so there are different ways to get your sources of protein. And don't forget, guys, as well, when you combine your foods, such as like if you have like, a complete meal, you still get your proteins that way. So you can still, go ahead and eat rice and salad, like rice salad and something else. I can't think. Basically, whatever foods that you eat, if it is healthy, you can still be full. It doesn't have to be always a protein pack. There are, vegetables contain a source of protein, not a high source, depending on the vegetable that you eat, but those still are good sources of protein. And then also too, foods like quinoa. So quinoa is also really rich in protein. So I would say try your best to have a protein at each meal, because what that does, it fills you up. So you will be less likely to be like, oh my gosh, like I'm hungry, I need to grab something that's unhealthy. No. So you'll most likely, you will, protein definitely helps to not make you feel hungry. So it is important to definitely try to get some protein, if not, a lot of protein on at each meal. The next tip on my list is something that I like to do is if you have like a favorite food, try to make it healthy. So if you like Chipotle, and you like, what, I really shouldn't be eating this Chipotle, or I keep eating it too much, and you're saying to yourself, like, I really love it, and I just, I want to eat healthy, but I'm not fully committed yet. I would say turn your favorite dish into like a healthier version of it. So if you really, really want to be healthy, I would say like for your Chipotle dish, you can say, okay, I'm going to buy some brown rice, or I would say you could buy quinoa, and then you can buy your own avocado. You can buy some tomatoes, chop it up, make your own salsa. So that's one way I definitely like to suggest to others as well, is that if there is a certain food that you like, you don't necessarily have to give it up, unless it's just terrible. Like I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like a glazed donut, like that's not really healthy. But I would say 9 times out of 10, I feel like if there is a certain food that you like, there is something that you can do to it to make it healthier. You don't have to just fully give it up, unless, like I said, it is something that's truly, truly unhealthy and you're like, okay, I shouldn't be eating this. But if there is like a food that you enjoy, I would say try to modify it so that, you're eating like a healthier version of it. And then also too, another tip that I did want to add is something that I do as well is if there's like a favorite restaurant that you like, or if there's like a certain place that you really enjoy, like I said, there's a favorite dish that you enjoy, grab that place menu or print it from online, whatever you got to do, and just look at the menu and say like, okay, these are some dishes that I enjoy from this place, and let me see what I can do to make it healthier. So that's something that I've done. Now, I'm not sure. I think I maybe did it maybe once or twice. You know what? I used to do it. So I used to eat a lot of Indian food. And I had to cut back on that because it's very high in sodium and just all of that. But what I did was, because I was at a point where I was eating a lot of Indian food, like a lot of Indian food. Like I love it. And I still do. Like I literally still love Indian food. So I would eat a lot of Indian food. So I told myself, I was like, no, sis, you need to start eating healthier. So what I would do is I would just make it healthier. I would get brown rice. I would just basically make the dish myself at home and make like a healthier version of it. So I would use like chickpeas, instead of like the cheese they had in there. And at the time when I was eating Indian food, I was still pescatarian. So I wasn't eating any meat or anything like that. But so if there is like a favorite dish that you have, I wouldn't say you necessarily have to give it up completely. But you have to decide what it is. You have to decide for yourself if you know something that you should give up. And that's one thing that I always like to discuss on this podcast, is that you know yourself better than anybody else. So if you know you truly need to give it up, whether you think it should be modified or not, give it up. And that's something I had to learn. Like if you know good and well that it's something that you feel like is not beneficial to your health and you know that you shouldn't even be modifying it, I would just say just give it up. As harsh as that sound, that's something that I had to tell myself, is that, whatever it may be, sometimes you just have to be honest with yourself and just let things go. So let's see. And then the last tip that I want to say is start slow. You don't have to start fast. You don't even have to do all of these things at once that are on my list. I would say start slow. And, I know a lot of people, are say like, make sure you count your calories, make sure you have enough protein, blah, blah, blah. If you are a beginner at this in regards to eating healthier, or if you have ate healthy in the past and you're now like at a point where you're lost and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to start back up into eating healthier, I would say start slow. So I know there are tons of apps out there, MyFitnessPal, there are tons of apps and things like that. But I would say give yourself at least a week of where you gradually get into it. And then maybe the second week, maybe get into calorie counting and using like some type of tracker. Now, if you're somebody who's like just generally motivated, like, okay, I need to track my meals, that's what motivates me, by any means, like I said, go do it, if that's what suits you. But generally speaking, I feel like, instant change or just fast change for most people is overwhelming. So I would say start slow. If you feel like, counting what you're eating or counting your carbohydrates is too much at this moment, I would say that's okay. As you continue to eat healthier, I guarantee this, your mindset will change. As you continue to eat healthier, your mindset will change, just similar to when you work out. When you really get into like an exercise regimen, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to leave the gym to eat something healthy. You're not going to leave the gym and be like, yo, that glazed donut, got to get that. Or you're not going to be like, yo, that Whopper, I can't. No, 9 times out of 10, you're going to either go to the grocery store or you're going to go home and make sure you eat something healthy. So as you gradually get into the habit of starting to eat healthier again, your mindset really will change, and, you'll learn to grow, to just get a better understanding of the nutrients that you're eating and what you're eating. So those are just some tips that I want to provide to you guys today, especially like I said, today's October 1st. We are going into holiday season where it's going to be nothing but candy, cookies, pastries, macaroni and cheese, yams. I was going to say grits too, whatever, you name it. Listen, Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas. I know for the kiddies and everybody else, Halloween, candy, all of that. So I just want to help you guys and let you know that you can still eat healthy during this time of the year. You can eat healthy and you can still, enjoy yourself during those holiday months. So you can still enjoy yourself. But like I said, it is important because I like to talk about mental health on here. If you are someone who has like a decline in mood or decline in just your overall mental health, it is important to still make sure that you try to eat as healthy as possible to get yourself mentally on track. So, this week's quote is more of a funny quote. It was a funny quote that I found that I was like, let me do a funny quote this week. I was like, I think it'll be kind of fun, I guess. But this week's funny quote is, eat less sugar. You're sweet enough already. So once again, this week's funny quote is, eat less sugar. You're sweet enough already. Like, yes, you're already sweet. So no need to get more sugar when you're already sweet. All right, I'm good, fam. You already know what time it is. We are now at the end of this week's show, and I hope this information was helpful, insightful, and everything in between. Do not forget to subscribe to the I'm Good podcast, share this podcast, leave a review, and tell a friend. Thank you once again, y'all. Listen, honestly, y'all, I say this every week, but thank you once again to everybody who has supported this podcast from the start, who have just now listened to it. If you're new, welcome. But I really want to say thank you so much for listening. And I will see all of you beautiful people next week. Bye-bye.